you don't really think about it until until you're hitting rock bottom, and you realise who's there for you. And hi, my name is Ayden Reeves. I'm 22 years old and I'm from the Oaks, New South Wales. Growing up, I was supported by a very loving family, which I'm very, very grateful for. They've been there for me through a lot of stuff, and probably the earliest time I can kind of remember dealing with any form of, mental health issues is when I was 13 and just got into high school, and I started getting all these acne bits and pieces on my back, and I just thought it was like the teenage normal hormones to like get acne and stuff like that. But then it started to get really severe, and started going on my back, and just like my back was bleeding constantly, and it was just like on my chest and stuff like that, and like I knew something wasn't right. And so I went and saw a dermatologist, and out at Campbelltown, and he just said to me like, "Oh mate, like you probably don't want to hear this, but you're like one of the worst cases I've seen in this area." And hearing that as a 13-year-old kind of breaks you a little bit. You're just like, I don't know, like there's always someone worse off, but you just feel like, why does this thing have to happen to me? And I think facing that at such a young age, and being told something like that as severe and what was going on, and this wasn't happening to any of like my other mates. Like my other mates were getting acne and stuff, but like when I'd just be too scared to ask them like how bad theirs was getting, and like theirs wasn't too bad. And like when I started to see that it was going like all the way down my back, and I was constantly bleeding. Like I remember one of my days at high school, I was just in the outside area, and I had to wear a black shirt under my school shirt because like my back was just bleeding through my school shirt. And I remember one day when I thought it was like getting better, and I kind of just tried to be optimistic that it was getting better, and it wasn't, and I kind of thought wrongly about that, and went to school, and my back started bleeding just around my shoulder area. And I remember someone saying to me like, how can you possibly get like tomato sauce all the way like on the back of your shoulder kind of thing? And straight away, like tomato sauce wasn't even the first thing that came to my head. I was just like, if someone's talking about anything to do with my back, it's because of the cystic acne. And just hitting that point, I just went into a really low and dark hole. You look at all these people all the time, and I think social media, it's one of the greatest things that's been invented, but it's also when you're young especially, you look up to a lot of the people and celebrities, and they all look like I think around my time when we got into high school, that's when Justin Bieber was kind of getting all the girls and stuff, and like you look at other people and you compare yourself a lot, and it kind of ruins you a little bit, because like if you're not, I guess, in a state of happiness with who you are and what you look like, and I think visual appearance is important, but further down the track you just come to realise, like I had a conversation with my mum, and like my mum's like my rock and everything, and she's been there for me, as has my dad, countless amount of times, and just when I've hit low points in my life. And I just said to her, like I just don't feel or look like I'm ever gonna, have a girlfriend. And being 13 years old, like you get into high school, it's the first thing you kind of, it's your only goal is to get a girlfriend and to somewhat be looked at as attractive. And to me, having and being, I guess in a sense, diagnosed with cystic acne, just looking at myself in the mirror, I hated it. I hated getting out of the shower. I had to use 2 shower towels because like I would just be so, like my brother-in-law and my sisters and stuff were living at home, and I remember my shower and my room weren't too far away from each other, and I would just like take 2 towels to put one over my back and one down my lower body, and so no one would see my back. Even though I only technically needed 1 towel for the shower, like I just used 2 because I was so like scared. Like my sisters love and adore me, and like they've been there for me as well, but just a sense of own, I guess, insecurity kind of really got to me. And it wasn't until after I had a conversation with my mum, and I think this is like one of the many of conversations that I've had since this incident, and she just said to me, like your skin only goes so deep. And that was really important for me to hear that at that time, because I then took that information and what she told me, and I thought, well, if I'm not going to be the best looking bloke in high school or wherever I go, how can I kind of make up for that in a sense? And I thought, well, the best way to do that is to put everything into who I am as a person, my personality, like just work towards being a fun and enjoyable and friendly person to be around, like just be someone that people can go to when they're feeling like down and stuff. And I think that's where like who I am today, that conversation with my mum started that. I was able to build a sense of fulfillment, and I'm still still wasn't confident with my looks or anything. It was just in a sense of like, I know what I'm trying to be as a person, and like it was just important to me that I had to make up for what I was lacking in my visual appearance and put that into my personality trait. And over the years, like I've spoken to many people and used the cystic acne as a reason for why I'd message people, because like I knew in a sense what it was like to feel like you were never enough, or like you just didn't like who you were as a person. And a lot of people experience this, and they still do experience this. And I think growing up, it kind of showed me the values of how much you can really, like sending one message to someone can do wonders. And I remember Smash the Silence last year. I used to hate public speaking. I would never have the confidence to get up because I was just so scared. Like my face would be bloated from acne, and I was so scared to like be looked at, and especially under a spotlight. And last year I had the confidence to stand up in front of everyone and talk about a few other mental health things that I went through. And I remember a girl came outside to me and she's like, that speech like literally just saved my life. And for me, like I think it's a lot of pressure to tell someone that what you've just done has stopped them from or prevented them from wanting to leave the earth. And it's a big responsibility, but in a sense, like it's a trait that I'm very not conscious of sometimes. Like you just say things, and you can put posts on social media, and you can just message someone just like to check in on them, and that can be like literally a life or death kind of instinct, like where you're messaging them, and like just being there for them when they feel like no one else is just like a really important thing. And so when I grew up, I learned to kind of embrace my skin a little bit. I learned to embrace my voice, and a few years ago, I probably hit another low point in a sense of I had no reason to, as I was content and somewhat over what I was told when I was 13 about the acne. And like I still get very even to this day, like I'm still insecure. I've had scars on my back and stuff, and like scarring on my face and on the back of my neck. But I used to be like so scared in high school. I remember like even my neck was just exposed, and it's all scarring and bloody and stuff. And I remember I used to just pin myself up against a brick wall, and like whenever my group of friends would be in high school, like I just kind of want to be the one that was up against the wall, and so no one could kind of see my neck from different angles and sides and things. And I think taking that and feeling that insecure about everything, it stayed with me for a while, but I was able to, as I said, embrace it and move on. And then the next thing that kind of came about 2 years, or roughly 2.5, 3 years ago, is like just not having a reason to be upset, but just feeling nothing but helpless. And I think your brain is like one of the, and I love my brain now. I've spent time and effort like dedicating and caring for my brain and trying to develop it in a sense that like I'm working towards a better me every single day. But a few years ago, I just had no reasoning to be like hateful towards myself, but I was, and I just despised who I was as a person, and everything that I'd built up, and the courage and what I'd embraced over the years of growing up in high school from the acne, that kind of just disappeared, and I kind of just got thrown out the window. And I didn't know why. It was like my brain was just snapped, and I just started dealing, like I was in a relationship at the time, and I think a lot of the attributes that I took from when you don't love who you are, it reflects on the people that you be around. And I remember when I was in the relationship, it just got really rough. Like, I wasn't the best boyfriend, and like, I'd never physically or mentally abused anyone, or verbally abused anyone, but I just stopped caring, and I stopped caring for myself, and I just stopped caring for other people, and that's not who I ever wanted to turn into, especially after training myself over the years through high school to be a better person and to embrace those better personality traits. So then when this feeling came along, and the thing is, like, it was all mental, and I couldn't escape it. Like, I just felt so much pain, and anyway, so yeah, my relationship ended up going downhill. I ended things because I wasn't in love with who I was, and in a sense, I didn't want to be here, and I was just kind of contemplating, like, is the world a better place without me? And like, I think once that thought hits your head, and you get yourself to that point, it's hard to convince yourself otherwise. And yeah, like, there was a time when like a certain night where I probably hit the lowest point in my life, and when I was sitting in the hospital with my mum, and like, this conversation will always stick with me because it's just engraved itself on my heart, on my emotion, and on my mind. And like, my mum said to me, so my niece was born only a few days prior to this event happening, and like, when I was in hospital, and I remember my mum saying to me, like, I wish you said something. I wish you really told us that it was this bad and that you were feeling this way. And I felt helpless. Like, I have people who love and support me, and I knew that. I had a very loving family, I had amazing friends who would go to the ends of the earth for me, but I just felt so alone internally. It's I think when people get in this state, a lot of it is like, you can't even work out what's going in your own head, let alone try and speak out to other people. And so I remember this conversation with my mum, and she said to me, like, your niece Lara, she was born a few days ago, and I just don't want to be put in that position where, when she's older in a few years' time, when like, my niece is on my mum's lap, and they're going through like a family photo album or something like that, and a photo of me comes up, and Lara points to it, and she goes, "Oh, who's this?" And like, my mum said to me, "Please don't put me in that position to have to tell her who you were. Like, please stick around and be a part of her life." And every time I say this out loud, like, no matter how many times I repeat this story in my head and make this the reason for everything that I do, and the reason that I stick around. Like, now I have not only a niece but a nephew who I absolutely love and adore. Like, I couldn't imagine my life without them, and I would ever hate now to imagine where I'm not a part of their life. And that conversation with my mum single-handedly, like, saved my life. But like, it's just one of those things where you don't really think about it until no. Yeah, you don't really think about it until until you're hitting rock bottom, and you realise who's there for you. And like, I think that's why I have such a big passion and strength behind it now, is because you're so trapped in your own head, and you just don't know how to get out of it. And I think now that I've spent so much time like, recollecting myself and rediscovering why I have reasons to live, like, it's everything to me that I was able to do that. And like, it breaks my heart when, like, I see people take their life because they're just not able to find that path. Like, whoever's listening to this right now, like, please understand that, like, there are, whether you know anyone or not, like, there will always be someone in your corner, and like whether you realise that or not. But yes, it's never too late to speak out, and you can always put your best foot forward and just keep moving forward. But yeah.